Hey Cleared Job Seekers, we're working hard this summer to record episodes with more great guests from the Cleared community. To make sure we continue to bring you the best content possible, we'll be releasing new episodes every other week this summer. By the start of September, we'll be back to our usual weekly schedule. Enjoy the show!
Our positions are on a 60-day time to hire timeframe. Basically, cradle to grave, from the time the job goes on the streets to the time that they bring that person through the door for onboarding is a 60-day period. So that's our target, that's our focus. Sometimes it depends on if that clearance paperwork is taking some time with regard to adjudication. That could extend the process, but typically we want to target a 60-day hiring model.
Welcome to Security Cleared Jobs, Who's Hiring and How, the podcast for cleared professionals looking for new opportunities and career advice. We go behind the scenes with recruiters and hiring managers from leading cleared employers to uncover the information you need to make a smart career move. Get ready for insights from this week's guest and your hosts, Kathleen Smith and Rachel Bozeman.
Hello everyone, it's Kathleen with ClearedJobs.Net, and welcome to another episode of Security Cleared Jobs, Who's Hiring and How. Rachel, it's so great to have you today with me in the podcast booth. What's going on with you today?
You know, I am here and I am ready to learn. And I hope, Kathleen, you don't put us in suspense any longer. Who is joining us today?
So today we have a very, very special guest, Kim Crawford, Chief of Staff for the Facilities Services Directorate at the Washington Headquarters Services at the Pentagon. Kim, we are so thrilled to have you joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Kathleen. Glad to join with you guys.
Well, Kim, we like to start in a very simple way. We like to learn a little bit about you and kind of your backstory, your superhero backstory on how you ended up where you're at today.
Oh, it's a long story. I'll try to be brief. Got my career started right out of college, graduating with a civil engineering degree. Actually, it was a nursing major initially, but that kind of changed for the better. Once I graduated from college with civil engineering, I started working for the state, North Carolina Department of Transportation, as a bridge designer. And I fell in love with a Marine who has now taken me around the world for a little while. And we have settled here in Virginia. But during that time, I worked for a number of agencies on the federal and state side before landing in Virginia to work for the Army Corps of Engineers first, and then the Naval Facilities Command on the Marine Corps base Quantico in Quantico, Virginia. And after about 5 years with Quantico, working for NCIS, after leaving NAVFAC, I decided to branch out and move north. So applied with a position at WHS, which is the Washington Headquarters Services, and became the director for lease facilities there. And about 2 years ago, more like 3 now, I was asked to be the chief of staff for our directorate management division, as well as the entire directorate. So that's kind of my journey. I have pretty much managed anything from a small IT project out to a multi-million-dollar BRAC project, which is the base realignments and closure type projects, and MILCON, military construction projects. So that's where I've been, and now I'm here.
Well, that is a great backstory.
And we here love our Marines. We are a Marine-owned firm, so we're always Semper Fi. So I really appreciate that you've been clear on what all the acronyms are, because even though some of us have been in the government contracting community for, I hate to say it, over 30 years, I don't know every single one of the acronyms, and I don't know every single one of the divisions. So as a further backstory for our audience, help us understand what is the Washington Headquarters Services.
So Washington Headquarters Service, of course, WHS, it was established back in 1977. And this particular agency, we are a field agency under the Department of Defense, and we are the administrative arm for the Office of the Secretary of Defense. So that is Secretary Lloyd Austin III. We basically provide services for different agencies. So there were the designated support and service provider when it comes to human resources, facilities, resource and financial management, contract and acquisition support, personnel security, equal employment, and executive services, all provided to the Office of the Secretary of Defense, to include the Joint Staff, military departments, and other DoD components in the National Capital Region. We're basically taking on anything that has to do with the Office of the Secretary of Defense and how we support the warfighter.
Just a small job. No, that is a lot. And I think that a lot of times when people are looking at federal jobs, they don't understand the intricacy and how wide ranging many of these positions are, because we are talking about a large facility, large employer, lots of different aspects to support the mission. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the specifics of the Facility Services Directorate. What does that directorate oversee?
Our basic mission is to provide comprehensive life cycle facilities management support for a day-to-day working environment for over 64,000 employees to the Department of Defense. So we manage about 15 million square feet of space and facilities across the National Capital Region, to include the Pentagon proper, which is about 9 facilities on its own. And then we also manage the Mark Center in Alexandria. And we have about 70 plus lease facilities that we manage across the National Capital Region. So we provide a multitude of base operating services, such as custodial and grounds and things of that nature. But in supporting the 60 plus thousand civilian and military personnel for the Office of the Secretary of Defense, we provide building alteration and construction, also management with maintenance and operation, also to include personnel services. We're about a 550-man organization at any given time that provide 24/7, 365 dedicated support to the Department of Defense.
That is pretty impressive. You had me at 15 million square feet. So that is a lot of area to cover for sure.
Absolutely.
So I know a lot of our listeners, they're interested in the different career opportunities there. So I wanted to just make sure that I had my facts correct over here. So if you'll fact check me here. But your positions that you're hiring for, are they all federal positions?
They are all federal positions. We have kind of 2 distinct career type programs. Of course, we hire federal civilians in a professional type series, but we also have a blue collar community that we employ here at Facilities Services Directorate. So that encompasses more of your building systems, maintenance, mechanics, your electricians, plumbers, craftspeople who have a specific trade or vocation that help us in providing a lot of different specialized and operational support to our facilities to ensure that they're maintained and operating properly on a daily basis. So we're kind of a hybrid environment, right? So we have your, of course, professional series. We have engineers, designers, your schedulers, your estimators, quality inspections, quality controlled inspectors, and quality assurance. But we also have the financial folks. We have an entire division that's dedicated to the financial program that fund these types of activities and facilities activities. So we have the full range, diversified portfolio of all types of skill sets that we hire here at WHS and FSD.
Love it. And then just another follow-up question there. Do all of those positions, again, they run the full gambit, do they all require a security clearance?
Not all, however. Because of the nature of our business and the nature of our facility, everybody knows the Pentagon, right? It's kind of a small, large museum based in Alexandria. But in supporting the warfighter and the national defense posture, the majority of our positions do require some level of clearance. The Pentagon itself is primarily a secure facility starting 80 meters out, right? As well as the Mark Center and a lot of our delegated facilities that are in the National Capital Region. So probably I would say about 75% of our positions require some level of clearance, starting with public trust all the way up to top secret and top secret with a SCI, which is the sensitive compartmented information clearance.
Awesome. And then the question that everyone loves to hear a little bit more about are where are all of these positions located? With 15 million square feet, I'm sure they're kind of spread across. So tell us where these positions are located.
So, of the 500 plus positions, billets, right, that we do have, the majority of them are located in the Pentagon. We do have staff that also work in the Mark Center that's in Alexandria, Virginia. Crystal City houses about, like I said earlier, about 70 plus lease facilities that we manage, that we are a part of on a daily basis, doing inspections and ensuring that our customers' requirements are being met. So you have some folks that are hybrid. You have people that are on staff 24/7. We also have different shifts that work to ensure, maintain operations of these facilities. So primarily in the National Capital Region is where we're located.
Thank you.
So it sounded like in the Facilities Services Directorate, there's a whole variety of different skill sets you're hiring for. Is there one set of skill sets you're hiring for more than the other?
Well, currently we do have some pretty critical positions that we are trying to fill and trying to recruit for. We are looking specifically for, as I said earlier, maintenance mechanics, where that may be either from the mechanical side or the electrical side, the HVAC side of the house, folks that can work on mechanical equipment, when it comes to boilers or chillers, generators, those types of very, very critical equipment type systems. We're also looking for electricians, master electricians, plumbers, crafts folks that can do woodwork, folks that can maybe do welding, those types of trades. Utility controllers are some of the blue collar critical positions that we're filling currently. And on the professional side, we have a real need for your civil engineers, mechanical engineers, those folks that are in the design and construction alterations fields with those types of skill sets, project managers. Very diverse group with regard to facilities. So those are some of the things skill sets that we're looking for and we're in need of right here today.
Yes, it's always interesting when I try to explain to, like, when I go out and speak at colleges and such, they all think that people with security clearances are only technical. And I try to explain it's like a small city. You need everybody who can make a small city run, and that includes truck drivers and mechanics and plumbers and and even chefs. They're always impressed that we need security cleared chefs. So talking about tradespeople, obviously they can't get a hybrid remote position. I mean, you can't remotely fix plumbing or something like that, but it does sound like you do have other hybrid remote cleared positions. What are those?
Security cleared listeners, did you know that you can text us? If you're on mobile, go to this episode's description and hit send us a text message. We're always happy to hear from you, so give us some feedback or let us know what else you want to learn about. Now back to the show.
Facilities Services Director doesn't have any remote positions, but we do have and maintain a hybrid work environment for those skill sets and positions that cater to that type of environment, right? That type of work environment. So some of our professional series that are more administrative in nature and things like your facilities assistants that may do more of the work order process. Those positions that are on the financial side of the house that do more of our budget management and our resource management. Those folks that potentially work with your correspondence and your administrative contract liaison type positions have more of a hybrid work environment. But if you are a person that are working or inspecting critical equipment, those types of positions don't necessarily lend themselves to remote or a hybrid environment.
So we've talked a lot about the different type of positions that you're hiring for, but now let's pivot and talk a little bit about the actual hiring process there. So could you help our listeners understand what that might feel like? And then if you have any recommendations when it comes to the resume, is there a special type of resume that's required to be considered for these roles?
Sure. So our hiring process, we basically go through USA Jobs, but we also have some social media presence on LinkedIn. And we also have another outreach tool called Yellow. We do have direct hiring authority for a lot of our technical positions and our critical fill positions. So with direct hiring authority, it's not even necessary to go through USA Jobs. Basically, if we get a resume that we feel meets the necessary qualifications and requirements of a position that is in that particular hiring eligibility, we can reach out directly to the applicant. Once you put in an application with regard to applying through USA Jobs, there's always a closing date. So once that application or once that vacancy closes, that job announcement, you should be receiving something from the system that's automated to tell you if you are qualified, whether it be minimally qualified, or you have been referred to a hiring manager, or you did not necessarily qualify for this particular position. And unfortunate, just keep applying, right? But that timing and that process is really predicated on the hiring organization that's mastering that particular vacancy, right? There's a lot of different hiring agencies that are out there that support the federal government. But typically, it could be less than 30 days, but no more than probably 45 days to see if you actually qualified for a position. I know that seems really long, but in the grand scheme of things, not so much, right? Once it's determined that you're going to be referred to a hiring manager, then there's the interviewing process. If they reach out to you for an interview, you interview for that position. Again, there's a racking and stacking of qualifications to see if you're best qualified for that position. And once you receive your TJO, if you are, you'll get a tentative job offer. And in that tentative job offer will be all the information needed and necessary for you to onboard with that organization. So within WHS and the Federal Services Directorate, our organization who recruit for our positions are on a 60-day time to hire timeframe. They basically cradle to grave from the time the job goes on the streets to the time that they bring that person through the door for onboarding is a 60-day period. So that's our target, that's our focus. Sometimes it depends on if there's some glitches in paperwork or clearance, right? If that clearance paperwork is taking some time with regard to adjudication through, various means, that could extend the process. But typically we want to target a 60-day hiring model. As far as the type of resume, federal resumes, of course, are the best. However, they're not the only, right? We can accept any type of resume as long as it has the key qualifications and experience described along with your background experience, licensing, your training. As long as all of that is described in the resume, it doesn't have to necessarily be a federal resume.
I think I hear a collective sigh of relief from several of our listeners because I've gone through that federal CV process. It's a whole other
Beast.
it's a whole other beast. It's not something that they taught us in high school.
Absolutely. Kim, I would love to get your thoughts and maybe something you're experiencing. We know males are, required to register for the selective service, but they're maybe not going through the traditional process of getting registered. Is this at all impacted kind of your hiring process or anything that you're seeing from the application standpoint?
Of course. With WHS and FSD requiring more technical skill sets, there's been a lot on the immigration side with regard to being a U.S. citizen and those types of things. So if you are an applicant who have not registered for selective service, which is a requirement to work for the federal government on all fronts, no matter the department, that you have at the age of 18, if you are male, born after 1959, that you have, registered for selective service. There is a waiver process out there, and it's a little bit convoluted. I'm not going to lie about it, but there is information on the OPM website that helps an applicant to file for a waiver or an exemption with regard to selective service. This has been something that has hindered employment over the years. But WHS, FSD, we've kind of cracked the code with our HRD department, depending upon what those qualifications are, those justifying reasons, and everybody will have their reasons, right? But it can be done, but I'm not going to say that it's always approved either. There's extenuating circumstances where a person really have had to be detained or not able to register from the age of 18 to 25, for some time due to some extenuating circumstance. It's always a case-by-case basis, but it is something that can be overcome once you kind of divulge that information and disclose it to your hiring specialist, and they can really help you work through that.
Thank you. I know some people would be really interested in hearing more about that, sort of the backstory on that. And since I work a lot in the hacker community and the cybersecurity community, and I always get pushback about the marijuana laws. And we've seen that relaxed on a state by state basis. It's obviously still a crime on a federal basis. So, has that been an issue for you as far as a hiring challenge?
We really are more running into drug testing delays. So we have so many folks in the pipeline to bring on board that that's been one of our major hurdles, is waiting on the drug results to come back. And because we do have a zero tolerance policy with regard to any positive drug test, it's not something that we waive on any basis. Now, I say that, but then I also, if you're in a drug tested position and you are transferring to WHS, Facilities Services Directorate, we do have the advantage of processing a waiver on your behalf, but then you are drug tested as soon as you are on board, just to keep the ball rolling, staying within our 60 days, trying to make sure that we have a good talent coming on board and not losing that applicant. So there are a few caveats.
Love it. Well, Kim, I know we're getting close to the end here, and I know I personally have learned so very much, as I'm sure most of our listeners out there have as well. So I'm sure they may want to get in touch with you or your team. Is there an appropriate way that they can get in touch with you to learn more about some career opportunities, or maybe get some more questions answered?
Sure. We do have a communications box where they can drop resumes, ask questions, and we do have a team on standby that checks that box daily in order to correspond with any potential applicant that might have questions about Facilities Services Directorate or even WHS in general. As I said, we have a very diverse portfolio of positions across the entire agency, not necessarily just our directorate. And this is part of our recruit strategy across the agency. This box is linked to that effort. So there's always the opportunity to ask questions and gain more information.
That sounds wonderful. Kim, thank you so much for your time sharing all about the Washington Headquarters Services Facilities Services Directorate.
And I thank you and appreciate you and Rachel for all the great questions. Thank you.
Well, that was a very interesting session. I really appreciate that we get an opportunity to talk to more people within the federal agencies, because there is more to security cleared careers than just working for a government contractor. I really appreciated that they really have a mission to post a position and then close it within 60 days. That is actually revolutionary. So, Rachel, what was big for you?
Ditto on that. You never hear that. And 60 days, what the what? So all good on that one for sure. But something I really also appreciated was just the scope of all what's within the organization, to kind of hear it broken down and I know I've said it 100 times, but the 15 million square feet that exist and all of the different roles. And I loved your analogy, Kathleen, of kind of likening it to a city. It takes all parts and all pieces to make it run. So I thought that was just a great reminder and really, really cool insight there. So friends, thank you for chugging along with us to the end of our delightful little show once again. Please make sure you get out there and follow our show. And until next time, bye-bye.